Hi everyone, welcome to the Fall 2025 Semester Showcase. Woo! So we have a lot of people here, which is amazing. We had a lot of good food. Hope you all enjoyed that.
So if you can give a big round of applause for our first project lead.
Robin.
Hi, hello, my name is Robin. I am the project lead for Dreamcatcher, and I'm here with my lovely crew who, for the past semester, we have been working on this fantastic game. So I'm going to go over a few things before we get over the progress that we made. I want to talk about who we are. That's me. Hi. I'm the project lead. I'm new here, and this is hard, and I'm doing it, and it's a struggle, but I'm happy it's working out. Then I have my beloved and beautiful assistant, Manager Ace, who is the only reason that I made it this far, because good lord.
I made this entire slide deck yesterday.
And then, for the next few slides, I asked all of my team members to provide me with a photo of themselves so that I could put them in the slideshow, and then no one did that. So I improvised.
At least I told you.
So as you can see here, I'm just going to basically go over, I kind of sorted out my project into three main teams. So we got the program team, led by whoever this pretty lady is. And then we have Alonzo, I don't know where everyone is, Carmel, Garrett isn't here, unfortunately, is Slava here? Anyway, so this is our art team. Daniel's not here. The only thing I remembered about him is that he had an award-winning smile. Anyway, so this is my beloved art team, who is here to the left and to the right. Hopefully you can just look at the photo and figure out who you're looking at. I know Kwan is here. Oh, you're over there. I saw you over there earlier. Anyway, beloved art team. They've been doing some great work. And then my sound team, which is looking a little empty.
Hello.
It's mostly Holly and also Jaeger, who is...
Right there.
I'm right here.
Anyway, so I'm going to give a quick recap of what my project's about, so when I show you what we're working on, you can kind of get a feel for what the hell we're doing. So my game, Dreamcatcher, is going to be a kind of roguelite game, and it's going to be Pokemon-esque. So you're going to capture creatures, train them, battle them, etc. And it's all going to take place within dreams. The main plot is that you are basically some person's coping mechanism inside their head, and everything's falling apart, and you got to fix it. That's where we're at. So, to show you some of the stuff we've been working on, I'm going to start with some gameplay, because it's visually probably the least impressive. Not this. I'm not calling out this as the least impressive. I just mean like the art looks good, and the gameplay is placeholder assets. For example, our main menu placeholder asset is a picture of him, because my team members think they're funny, and they are. So we have our main menu screen and our options menu. The options is working. There is sound, kind of. It's, for some reason, Kwan, you did this, right? The sound effect he chose to use to test this is the Discord message notification noise, which I didn't realize when I was trying to figure out what was happening, and it was pissing me off. Anyway, so inside the game, you can see we got tile-based movement, because that's like a Pokemon-like game. We're going to be moving around based on tiles. Oh, by the way, all these GIFs suck ass, because GIF as a format is fucking decroded, and you should never, ever use it. I have screen transitions here on the right. As you can see, I'm going back and forth, and I got a little screen transition. It's not this slow in the actual game. I promise. You can come to my thing, and I'll show you it actually has frames. And then we also have our battle scene here. As you can see, we have these little... The creatures are called figments. The gist is that it's like a figment of your imagination. And so you can see we have some tests of the little overworld figments. If you run into them, you start a battle. You probably can't tell from far away, but the placeholder asset for the figments is a picture of my face. Once again, they think they're funny. Anyway, so ta-da, menu. Most of this isn't functional. It's just blocking to get the menu to work. What is functional is the flee button, which I believe the GIF on the right shows. Okay, it's slow as hell. But the point is, there are features that are working.
Please.
Check it out. You can run away. Now let's talk about some art. So I've had so many artists making so many beautiful, wonderful concept art. Up here on our left is going to be our main character, Muse, and I love them dearly. This is Mason, who did this concept art design, who is Mason. So thank you so much. They're a sad little child, and
The character, not me.
and this thought bubble is diegetic. This is actually a physical thing on their head that kind of shows their emotion, and I think it's really, really cool. And then we have various different characters that are basically going to be based on different things of the mind. For example,
Psychological concepts.
exactly. For example, the first characters you're going to meet are going to be kind of Freud's psychic agents or whatever, which are id, ego, and superego. I did make id get Mike Wazowski'd on purpose. But yeah, in the top right there is going to be your kind of main three you're working with, id, ego, and superego. And then we have a couple characters here like Hyperfixation, who is a Fujoshi. Anyway, we also got some of our Figment arts. These are going to be some of our creatures. Faye drew up this wonderful line, which starts off as Bumney, which is a broke rabbit. Yeah, that's Faye over there. Who then, as you evolve, gets richer and richer and starts becoming like a worker. And then, I don't think this is the final design, but we're going to work on it, but also just becomes a rich fucking asshole.
Girl boss.
Girl boss. And I love that so much. And we have some other designs here from Mason on the right. For example, a raccoon who becomes a wizard, and that's awesome. And then we got, I think, a few more Figment designs, and by a few more, I mean the same Figment designed 3 times. This is Puppy Love, who is Cupid if it was a dog, and people loved this design so much that everybody designed it. And I think that's fair, because it's awesome. I love Puppy Love. We've also been working through layouting. Jay has been doing some wonderful layouting. If you'll notice, this is a screenshot of The Sims, because he didn't want to learn Blender, so he downloaded The Sims and has been working in that, and it's actually been working fantastic.
Hey, it works.
So we've been kind of working out our layouts for different rooms and stuff, and so that's some of the progress we've made there. And then also we have our little Pinterest inspiration board that I believe Faye set up.
Hey, right next to you as well.
Hi. So thank you, Faye, for that. We have not been able to do a lot of sound work recently because sound work is not something you can just start out of nowhere. You kind of need a basis, and since we're starting from ground zero, we have very little. But luckily, Holly, my beloved, has actually made a song for us. This is going to be the forest battle theme. So like the first area you're going to go to is going to be this kind of autumn forest area, and we've got a battle theme for that area, and it sounds great. Probably not. But this gives you a general vibe that Holly's amazing, and I'm so lucky to have her. It's really, really good, and so we've been making some progress. Thank you all so much. That is basically the progress we've made so far on this journey. You can be a spectator, or you can fill out an interest form if you're interested in working on it. I actually made the QR code big this time, unlike the project showcase where it was small. So if you want to scan that, you can. Thank you all so much. I hope the rest of the presentation is great. I was going to do a bit here where I said to go have some good food, but it's all been eaten already, so you can't do that. Yay! So the rest of y'all can sit down. I'm going to pass this on to Charlie.
All right, everyone. My name is Charlie, and this semester I led the project, the Stulstaff Trek. But it wasn't possible without these lovely folks standing right next to me. We have me, myself, as the lead. I did some music, and I did some art as well. We're going to go down the line. We have Ace, who did some art and some programming. We had Graciela over here, did some writing and some art. And we have Mario over here, who focused on audio. Got a really random team. And unfortunately, Slava, our programmer, is not here today, but he was a good help as well. Here's some art. We're just going to dive right into this. We have here some art for the game. We have a lovely map of our kind of area, this park that you play in, made by Graciela. Very great work. And we have some character sprites. We have some monkeys and gorillas and fish and fox and everything in between. It's very lovely. We have some items as well, along with a sign that Ace designed. It was a very nice design, and ideally we would put this on your journey as you travel. We have some backgrounds as well. These were all done by Ace. Very great work. To speed up this process, we had like a base map behind, and we would kind of change the environment based on which character you'd be encountering. So if you saw the monkey, you see some bamboo. If you'd see the fish, you'd see a fish pond, right? Another one thing that we really enjoyed for this project was we actually got to visit the park that this game is based on. And so because we did this field research, we were able to go to these places, take photos, and then translate that through the art. And it was kind of a way to not copy what we saw, but it's a way for us to imagine visually what we have in mind and then translate it to an art form that we can put in the game. It was a very fun experience. We have some UI as well. All of these didn't make it into this version of the game, unfortunately, but it is here. We have a little text box. We have some text that I made, and we have some different inventory designs. We have your standard, almost like Minecraft layout for your inventory, and then we kind of got a little creative with a little backpack that would have some items in it. We were playing around with the idea of having different backpacks that you can find on your journey that have different inventory slots and have different effects depending on how good the condition the backpacks are in. Audio. We made a lot of audio tracks, lots of music. It was close to around 10 tracks, right? We made a lot of audio, and it was really fun as well. Is when we went to this park, we brought a microphone and we recorded all the sound effects in the park. So when it came to like walking over a wooden bridge or walking through some leaves, we recorded that ourselves and we used it in the version of the game that we're going to show you. It was very fun. Instead of just ripping them off of like YouTube or some other audio base, we actually recorded the sound effects ourselves, and that was really fun as well. The screenshots here for some music tracks that me and Mario made kind of just shows the whole process of having to tinker around within these different softwares. It's a lot of fun if you know what you're doing. Writing. We did a lot of writing, and by we, I mean Graciela. She did all of the writing. There was 9 pages of it. It was very impressive. I don't know how she did it, but we have a lot. We have a full story with several different characters. I think 5 characters, 6 maybe, and it's a whole intertwining story, and it's very well written. I wanted to try and at least show a bit of it because she works very hard on it. I want to make sure that she was able to get acknowledged for that. Programming. We spent a lot of the programming this semester on our dialogue system. We made a modular dialogue system where you can plug in different characters that are speaking along with different sprites. So depending on who is speaking, you can quickly just drag and drop a different sprite into a different creature that is talking. So instead of hard coding everything based on one image, you're able to drag and drop however you want, and you can, if you want to make changes, you can, and it's as simple as that. It's a very lovely system we have. Now we're going to show you a little bit of the demo of what we've been making this semester. In here we have different dialogue options you can choose from, and depending on what you choose, you will get different dialogue. So it kind of gives some interactivity with the player as well. So you're not reading a story. Your choices do matter, and the dialogue you get really affects how the creature reacts. Yeah, it's our little demo right there. Not too shabby if I say so myself. What we learned a lot this semester, and we also learned that making games are hard, right? We are all students at the end of the day, and some of our ambitions can kind of get away from us. And we had so many ideas. We still do have so many ideas that we want to incorporate for this game. However, the feasibility of it is hard to navigate through a single semester, right? And again, we're students. We have lives as well. That makes it hard. But our main takeaway was that we need to underscope rather than overscope. I think getting good ideas is great, but then being able to focus on the core mechanics that really need to be implemented is a strong driving point for our games. Here are some pictures from our little adventure, our field trip, so to say. It was very fun. It was honestly one of my favorite times in this whole creation of the game itself. It was very fun. Speaking of fun, we have a very professional work environment. I don't know if you can make out our screenshots, but it was very fun to be working with such a great, jubilant group of people. It made making the game a lot more fun instead of it being just kind of like a slog. With that, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys all listening. If you'd like to join the project, we have a QR code right here, and that is it.
Anything else? Sorry. All right. This is the project that I've been working on with my team over the last semester, Manul Online. Now, I want to talk about what this was all about over the last semester. At the beginning, I said that this was a starship flight simulator. I said many big things about PvP, how there's going to be a focus on combat, how there's going to be multiplayer. I have all of those things in part. Mainly the proof of concept. Most of the semester was spent on the fundamentals, the foundation. So I gotta say thanks to my team member Plo2, who did all of our Blender models. What I wanted to showcase here was the game would begin to look like. We're gonna have a flight model. The flight model here is gonna be unique compared to other games that have ships and such, because one of the grievances I had in other games was that they treated a spaceship like you would an airplane. Well, yeah, there's no air in space, so that can't work. Not acceptable to me. So I'm having it such that a ship's momentum, anything will move unless acted upon by another. An object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by another object. And that's exactly what I designed these spaceships right there to do. That took a bit of time, and we ran into a really funny problem that I'll go over later. Now, 90% of all of our brainstorming and effort was focused on this concept of netcode. And when I say netcode, I mean all of the little softwares and technologies that we needed to have multiplayer. Since this is supposed to be a multiplayer game, we found a lot of problems. It's almost done right now, and I think once we get this working, this is I hate using the word better multiplayer because I don't think that conveys a whole lot. But like I think we can solve one major problem in multiplayer that some people experience. I think when people think about problems with multiplayer, they think of lag or desync. This is more about the desync part, where like if everybody is playing on a computer and that computer is simulating one part of the whole picture of the universe, right? And like someone's version of that simulated world is different than someone else's. That's just the definition of a desync. It's synchronizing everyone's worlds on everybody else's computers to be the same. That's what this whole netcode project has been about, and that's what I expect it to be doing very, very soon. So I met someone at the Animation Society that came up to help us with all of the concept art of the earlier thoughts of when we were going into this project. Like I said, there's a pipeline set up to have some of these be used as like a design guide for our modeler. That's the ship that we saw earlier. We spent like the first 3 months talking about what a cockpit would look like in a space game. And we went through so many different design variations and arguments and that sort of thing. But I think this is kind of the fruits of that brainstorming. That one up there was Edward. I have a lot of text up there, and I don't think it's going to be fair to anyone to make you read that. It's essentially my motivation and the problems that we ran into during this project. A while ago, we came to this conclusion that some of the multiplayer games that we were playing together, namely MMO games, massively multiplayer online games, are designed in such a way that the technology and the stability of their games has a very strong impact on the way that the communities from those games grow. And the communities that grow from those games are not healthy communities. And I think my goal here is I believe that you can actually make healthy game communities around these MMOs, these multiplayer games, by simply just making better software. I think there's a lot of assumptions that people have about the limitations of multiplayer that I don't think are true, and that's what started this project. Anyway, along the way, we found out that all of the games that make spaceships are wrong, except for Kerbal Space Program. That's a little roadmap we kind of began in the beginning or middle of this year, and that's our optimistic time frame. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi guys. Wow. Okay. Well, I guess I'm next now. So, hi, hi, guys. My name is Peter Siri. I'm currently the project lead for my new intellectual property called Bloodborne. So this game's development has been rather slow over the past year, but I'm going to explain why. So for a while, I've been trying to implement a transition from one of my earlier prototypes to the project I just mentioned earlier. As you can see, a lot of it is heavily based around the player controller system that I'm transferring over from this previous class project that I did over the summer, 2 summers ago. the previous project is like Martial Wing, and this is a mech-based shooter. Yeah, so I'm just gonna delve a bit more deeply onto how I'm making this transition. 2 years ago, I was making Martial Wing for Professor Souza's class back in my software engineering class. It was intended to be a high-octane, two-dimensional mech shooter. Over the summer of 2024, I was just basically trying to showcase what the state machine can do with when it's being governed by a polymorphic state machine. Right now, it is still in development. Like I'm always adding like bits and pieces here and there iteratively. Before I started transitioning to my next project, which is Bloodborne this semester. This next slide is it's going to be a quick summary of what currently a person can do with the system that I have right now. So just get ready. Thank you. So as you can see in the previous video, which I'm not going to replay over and over again, the earlier prototype subsystem, it also includes object pooling, which took me a while to figure out. There's a bunch of other things about the previous project that took me a very long time to figure out. Right now, that's sort of like the hard part is just translating all of that and transferring it over to retrofit all of that into this current project. Bloodborne, right now, this is the game that I'm currently working on that I'm hoping to transition to commercial development in like not too long from now. It is a dream conceived by my sister's rabbit, who just passed away a couple years ago. And I also wanted to explore the real-world impacts of unfettered breeding in the form of an action like role-playing game. Bloodborne was intended to be a stealth game initially. It is loosely inspired by Dead Cells and Metal Gear Solid 5. And like Martial Wing, it is at its core concept that is still currently in development right now. So there's not a whole lot going on besides the art concept that I have over here, which in the next slide, the current state of this project is now pre-production. Development is rather slow. Tool chains have already been set up, including my version control software, my remote documentation on Confluence and Jira, and the base controller is being carried over from Martial Wing, as I mentioned earlier. The state machine is currently being revised with a new caching system, and that's been taking me a while to itty-bitty transition that very specific component of the previous project into Bloodborne, because there's just a lot of other things I've already added into the previous project that I'm going to have to redo from scratch, because one thing I think it's very important to learn as a game developer is that it's a lot easier to create a new project if you create a whole bunch of subsystems that you could just import right off the bat, rather than just a full-on game that you're going to have to redo from scratch if you want to reproduce very specific game mechanics. So that's one thing I did learn the hard way. The main character concept, as you saw earlier, it's sort of like, for me, setting the stage for a bit more visualization in the long run. But that's basically the only art concept I have right now. So my presentation is going to be very short just because right now I don't have a lot to show for. If you're wondering, the project is currently open for recruitment, and if you actually want to ask me more questions, I'm going to be sitting right over at the corner of this room. So again, thank you for having me. If you have any more questions, you're welcome to ask me after all the presentations. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Lindsay, and this is my project. Before we begin, I just want to go over my team. Everyone should be here, except for Josh. He is playing at a concert tonight, so he's booked and busy. That's Sam. He does the sound design, and then Johnny does a lot of programming, and then we have Jackson on music, and then Justine did a lot of modeling. Oh, Juice, yeah. And Peter was here for a second, but he did a lot of level design as well. And the history of Reconciled, it was born in the spring of 2025, and the idea came to me when I was watching a friend play a really sad game. And then I thought, what if I made something like that too? And that's kind of where Reconciled came from. It's kind of short and sweet. And the plot of the game so far has been that you're an old man living out his final days on a cottage in the woods, and full of history and burdens, you awake one night in a mystical dream state in the surrounding garden to find context clues of who you are and what you can fix before it's too late. And the genre is like narrative, RPG, open world, and walking sim. The visual aesthetic is low poly, and the games of inspiration are games like Undertale, Firewatch, Unpacking, and Before Your Eyes. It's a little grainy, but this is what we have for the map so far. It's a really big improvement from the spring. And big shout out to Peter, who really helped do a lot of stuff with the map, even with his own game going on. Yeah, this is how the stuff looked before. It's pretty bare bones, and we call those the M&M trees because they look like M&Ms. And then here is what we have now. A lot more rendering has happened. And shout out to Johnny, who did a lot of the shaders and made the trees move. So I just wanted to shout that out. And now we have the actual skybox, so it's not the generic Unity thing. And we've also been making a lot of progress on our point of interest locations. So the game is intended to have a few different locations that the player is going to walk through and explore. And these locations all have a key point in the story, so a lot of these images are going to have a lot of context to them the next time you see this on screen. And here's the progress on the interior. Shout out Unity Asset Store. So the funny thing is, most of us aren't really, well, besides Justine, is that we're not really modelers. So we had to use our friendly sponsor to help us out. And then, yeah, here's some, this is one of my favorite parts, but here's some of what we have for the programming. We actually got some guy in the game moving around, and it looks really realistic. And then we also had Johnny work on a great map. We have a couple different versions of the map, but it's going to be kind of like Fortnite, where you have to explore different locations and find things out. So that's our reference right there. And then, yeah, we had Jackson on music. He's been making a few tracks, and they all sound pretty good so far. Now we have some sound work. Sound is a really big part of the game, and we are very blessed to have a really talented team. So does Sam, you want to take this away?
Yeah, so when we were starting working on this project, I thought it was really important that we kind of set a goal, which is to create an atmosphere that immerses players in the environment, in the setting, and the plot. And alongside that, we needed to split the development up into different areas. So you can group the entire game under audio, but really the way we split things up is that we have one group of people working on sound design and one group of people working on music. Sound design is then split up into what you could describe as Foley, effects, and ambiences. I've been doing most of the Wise and Unity integration, and it has been really challenging because I'm just some sound guy, and I'm trying to learn how to use Unity and ChatGPT for coding things, but just for testing. But so what we've been doing so far, we can advance to the next slide, is that we set up a Wise project. And what you can see on the side here is the way things are split up. Generally, it follows that same structure that we followed before. We use a chain process here where we start by recording and editing sound effects or sourcing them from sound libraries. Generally, we'll be using any DAW, but I've been using Pro Tools. Wise is then used as the middleware between Unity and the sound effects and stuff for playback and processing. Every time you play a sound in the game, it actually sends a call to Wise, which is then going to receive the sound, it's going to apply any processing, and it's going to send it back to Unity. Unity is then where all those triggers and things like that need to happen so that we can say, okay, play the sound, or switch the sound, for example, with footsteps, where it's always going to be sending the same event, the same lines of code, but switches it to different material.
All right. And we're going to see you spring 26 because there's still a lot to be done. And you can check us out over there in that corner over there if you want to see what's in our game. So yeah, thank you guys for all watching this. And yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michael. Hello, world, even. Man, this slide looks really familiar. It's almost like I use this same theme every single time I do it. Anyways, yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael. I'm the project lead for Hello World. So here's our presentation contents. I'll try to keep this short, hopefully. So, game summary. It's no longer 3 lines, actually. I'm at 4. For those of you who don't know what Hello World is, we've been in development for a year and 1 full year and an extra semester, this semester now. So our mechanics involves switching between genres of games. So your common genres like platformers or a top-down, things like that. We switch between them and we constantly throw new genres at the player. Our story follows a narrator who's, funnily enough, a game developer new to game development. You'll see how it's kind of an ironic story now. And then over time, the level aesthetics also change. So as you switch genres, the aesthetics are also changing. From a game design point of view, this is a terrible idea. but that's fine for our intended purposes. So we start off in a very simple kind of like, oh, simple shapes kind of thing, and we move on to copyright free as the, you'll see in the story as the narrator is kind of less sure of himself, he starts copying from people, and you'll see how the aesthetics and the story of the narrator all kind of blend together to actually make this bad game design a cohesive story. I have a demo. I need someone from my team to come up here and run the demo. For those who haven't seen before, Hello World from our previous year has finished level 1, which is a platformer level. If you want to hit the... Oh, wow, it's really slow, isn't it? There we go. You can hear kind of the music that we've been working on and see the little animations in our little guy. So yeah, level 1 has been our platformer of development, and it starts with a very simple kind of aesthetic. If we can kind of see some of our enemies coming up soon, we have the classic red enemies that definitely are not inspired by Mario Red Turtles, and so on and so forth. So we have very simple guys, but they...
Your journey is fruitless, silly square. The artifacting kingdom is already mine.
We have a voice actor, by the way. So that's our boss, King Square. And that's not the last you'll see of him. He'll show up, like, in every level. Sorry, King Circle, yes. I know my shapes and colors. Anyways, so all of our enemies are going to make returning appearances as the levels progress. In one form or another. So I'll let you see the boss room, and then we'll move on to level 2. Okay, we can beat the boss. Whoa, we fly now. We fly.
I've been expecting you. You will never get the artifact.
I mean, speaking of bugs and glitches, part of the game has intended bugs and glitches. This isn't one of them. But part of the game has intended bugs and glitches to represent the narrator's kind of like introduction to game development.
Foolish
Alright, we
square.
go ahead and start level 2.
I've been expecting you.
Boss has, he's locked in.
This kingdom will always be
Hey,
mine.
Charlie, can you? Yeah, so the bosses have... yeah, Ryan's our writer, by the way. He's a very good writer, but he is our writer and not our tester. Pull. It is pulled. Wait, did you push now? Oh my gosh! Give me like 3 minutes as I go pull really quick. Okay, we're not doing get commits. You'll see any pulls happening in our open house section later. But yeah, so our level 2, copyright free, is very inspired, as we like to call it. You have a lot of similarities with The Legend of Zelda, which is the top down of inspiration, as well as you saw in the first room, the bed of flowers. And that is a Diamond Sword sprite. So yeah, all of the enemies are all still from the original level, but in new forms now. They kept their colors, kept most of their logic, as the red guys still follow a path. The green guys now just bounce all over the place. They don't care where they're going. But yeah. So that's our level 2. If you want to see more about it and the new commit they just pushed right now, I'm gonna be also part of the open house demo, probably like right here or something. Find me by the long jacket. It's very hard to miss. Oh, actually, that's true. Okay, I'm up here. All right. So yeah, that's that. Let's head over back to the presentation. We're not going for another git commit. Alrighty. So what comes next for this project? Well, at the beginning of the semester, we showcased this. We now have developed our second level. And we teased the third level. I can use a pointer. Can you see what our third genre is? A dating sim. Yes, it is in fact the KFC dating sim. So get ready for level 3 coming next semester. But also, we've also decided what level 4 genre is gonna be. So wait for next semester to hear more about that. And so that is the end of Hello World. Thank you.
Hello everyone. My name is Aaron, and I'm the project lead of a project called Dallas Engine. To give a really brief, because explaining what are as a project is very complex, so I'm going to try to simplify a lot of the things that we did. This project, the Alice engine, was a 3D game engine that I started a year ago because I thought, you know, as a computer science, what is a project that we can make that can teach you a lot and give you enough experience to build stuff? And that's where I spawned the Alice engine, which actually is the second game engine that I built. Before that, there was another one. But yeah, before we go ahead, special thanks to my two members. Evan, who's been the audio developer, he's the person that I've been communicating and working in how to get audio working in the Alice engine. And then thanks to Joseph for testing our build system. Now, let's go over some of the new stuff. So, exciting stuff. A lot of them are going to be very basics, but there was a lot of things that we had to do behind the scenes, like I've mentioned. A lot of the new things that I have been working on is the event system, the lighting system, physics simulation, and then audio. The reason why it took such a long time to get these in is because the thing that took the most time was we had to design, well, how does game logic work? If you use Unity, Unreal, if you use Godot, you know that there's a lot, like, you know that there is a way to do game objects. And so yeah, so let's go on to the event system. Now, the event system, I had to design this in a way that I was really happy about, because the way how I thought about it was very different than I did before. And here's like an example of what it looks like. It is, yeah, GIFs. That's what I call them GIFs. This actually prints out logs that show when game objects collide. You get to see who collided and write your game logic to do that sort of thing. So the event system, this is the example of it working. Lighting system. The lighting system is another big system that I had to work with, because it's a lot more difficult than just getting lighting. By the way, yeah, domain expansion. Yeah, So when I saw this effect, I thought it was actually really funny. I was like, aha, aha. But yeah, so I've been very happy. This is one of the new features that we have in the Alice engine. We got point lights. You're asking, well, what about directional spotlight? We're getting there, slowly but surely. Directional spotlight, they're gonna be there, but I thought a good starting point would be point. Now, physics simulation. I think this probably has the most beautiful images. It looked. You see, like, it looked much better on my PC, but you know, it sounds like an excuse, but yeah, no, like, this is an example. We got collisions. This is like 28 spheres, and yes, Luca, yeah, it's not 40. Okay, be quiet. Yeah, I know, but we're getting there. We're getting there. We're gonna get instancing soon enough. But this is an example to show what you could do in terms of physics simulation, and we can do collisions. And here's a different angle. I like this angle because it shows that we actually create multiple different point lights to direct lighting, and this kind of shows us doing a bit of, we have different parameters like attenuation, which makes it more intense. There's a lot of different things we could do. And so yeah, so the lighting system and the physics simulation really like showed that we are getting to a point where we can actually start making games. And that's where the demo is going to come. But before we go about the demo, let's talk about the story. What are we going to do next? Now, there's going to be something ambitious, but by the end of next year, my goal is we are going to get an animation system. We're going to implement skeleton animation. We're going to try to get some form of materials. And we're going to do some form of physics-based render where you can combine multiple materials like moss, brick, get some form of like a blend of different materials. So those are the three core features I would like to get us. And one of the more core features is editor. Having a much easier way to interact with the editor is also just as important. So that's something to look forward. I'm really excited. And so, yeah. So now let's go to the demo. I didn't really have a slide for it because I just did it right before. But let's go to the demo. This does audio spatialization. And that is actually something we got audio spatialization mixer with the event system, so we were able to do really interesting things like do audio. And that is actually a work in progress. That is something that I'm hoping we can expand from that to doing more complex audio operations that want to sound design design and dealing with audio. That is something we can provide, but this is an example of a work in progress of audio working. And so yeah, so if you want to actually kind of, because I know it's hard to kind of hear, sort of like the the controllers are kind of broken, but if you want to know more or actually more about what goes into more of the development and why some of the things we do are very different, we'll be in the back where that long table is. And so, yeah, so that is it. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, so that concludes our Fall 2025 Game Showcase. All the project leads are going to go to their own stations. If you want to talk to them, ask them a bunch of questions. Thank you all for coming. It's so great to see you all here.